Reuters has this really interesting report about how Ron DeSantis' top donor is going gonzo. Hotel entrepreneur Robert Bigelow, whose name, by the way, sounds like a porn star from the 1980s, the biggest individual donor to a group supporting Ron DeSantis' presidential bid, told Reuters on Friday he will not donate more money unless the Florida governor attracts new major donors and adopts a more moderate approach. You can't say this guy is wrong, because we've talked about this every step of the way. He thought, in order to beat Trump, I'm just going to outflank him on the right in the primary. And so that's why you got, DeSantis' argument against Trump was like, well, I actually would have slit the throat of the deep state, unlike you, Donald Trump. Well, how about I sign a 6-week abortion ban here in Florida? How's that? You guys like that? And the response was, no, not at all. It didn't help him in the primary. He didn't go up in the primary. In fact, he went down. And then in the general, he went down too. So he just totally, he didn't diagnose it properly, right? Like he thought this is my ticket to success. It's like, no, you are misreading the situation. If you think Trump won in 2016 because he was the most extreme, or, or he's a viable Republican leader because he's extreme. No, a lot of the extreme stuff is like he won despite the extreme stuff. I mean, we've made this point before, but of course the anti-immigration sentiment, the anti-Muslim sentiment, like all that stuff mattered, and there's a certain voting group he attracted with that. But he married that with like, I'm not going to cut Social Security and Medicare. I'm not going to outsource your jobs. This was his rhetoric. Now, of course, he did outsource your jobs, but that's what made him Donald Trump. It wasn't like, I'm just going to be as extremely right-wing as I can, and that's all Ron DeSantis has. I'm going to go more and more to the right, and I'm going to lean into this anti-wokeness thing, lean into the culture war, and that has gotten you nowhere. The comments by Bigelow, who gave $20 million to the pro-DeSantis Never Back Down super PAC in March, underscored donor concerns about the Florida governor's struggling campaign. Let's just pause to reflect on this for a second. He gave $20 million to a pro-DeSantis super PAC. Look at how much bigger a voice and a megaphone wealthy donors have in this country. You have like some grandma in Cleveland who can donate $5 to the campaign of their choice. Do they get a say? No. They're viewed as like a peasant who chipped in a penny, effectively. Whereas these big donors, they actually have sway and say. Now, in this instance, it just happens to be a rare instance where it's like, this guy's a positive influence because he's saying, hey, idiot, be more moderate. But in most instances, all these huge donors are just trying to get a return on their investment. They want the candidate to win, and then they want a return on investment via deregulation cuts or tax cuts for them or subsidies or whatever it may be. He does need to shift to get moderates. He'll lose if he doesn't. Extremism isn't going to get you elected, Bigelow said in an interview, adding that he communicated these concerns to DeSantis' campaign. When asked which specific policies Bigelow did not support, Bigelow cited only DeSantis signing in April a bill passed by the Florida legislature banning abortions after 6 weeks. I just talked about that. A move that came after Bigelow had donated the $20 million. So he doesn't like that. He doesn't agree with it probably substantively, but he also thinks strategically it's a stupid move. By the way, if you show this guy those very infamous ads now, where they brag about DeSantis being the most anti-LGBT and anti-trans in the country and has like the Nazi symbol at the end, I don't think this guy would like that. Bigelow said he would not donate more money for now not until I see that he's able to generate more on his own. I'm already too big a percentage. A lot of his donors are still on the fence. Bigelow, the founder of Las Vegas-based Bigelow Airspace, said he wasn't waiting for an exact fundraising figure, but that it's going to be a lot. In a statement to Reuters, a spokesperson for the DeSantis campaign, Brian Griffin, said they were grateful to supporters and donors who gave them the capacity to compete for the long haul without addressing Bigelow directly. Bigelow's comments will likely stoke perceptions that DeSantis, once a donor darling expected to put up a real fight against Trump, is in a downward spiral as his right-wing social policies and wooden personality fail to excite voters. Wooden personality, that's very good. I like that. DeSantis has been running to the right of Trump despite many Republican strategists saying he should instead be trying to court moderates concerned about Trump's policies and electability. A source familiar with the governor's strategy told Reuters that donors don't set policy for the governor and they never will. Oh, please. My ass cheeks. Never Back Down did not immediately respond to a request for comment. This is part of a trend. The trend is the big donors are like, I don't know about this DeSantis guy anymore because he was viewed as the heir apparent. He was tied with Trump immediately after the midterms. And then instead of rising, he ended up collapsing. And so, but here's the thing. DeSantis would be correct in saying, okay, but if you abandon me, you ain't got nobody else to go to, right? Because What are you going to do? Make Nikki Haley a thing? Make Tim Scott a thing? Good luck with that. Right now in third is Vivek Ramaswamy. Like, is he going to be president? I don't know. Maybe, right? The fact of the matter is this. The only thing that could seemingly take Trump down at this late date is if he ends up behind bars, which very well may happen. But DeSantis is positioning himself to have zero chance in a general election, assuming Trump does go down. But I don't know. We'll probably get the Trump decisions after the primary. So this might be a moot point anyway. But he's basically made a lot of people second guess him because he is flailing. His strategy is clearly to go to the right of Trump on a lot of policies and also mildly attack him while mostly bolstering his arguments. That's the strategy, and it just hasn't worked. And to be fair to DeSantis, it's very possible that no strategy would have worked, right? It's very possible that the Republican base is just, their mind is made up. And, if that's the case, then he at the very least should have not come across as insane as he's been coming across, because if he did that, he'd have a chance the next time around. But he's sort of blowing that too. So this donor is probably might be speaking to the concerns of a lot of donors, right? Look, they just want their tax cuts. They just want their regulation cuts. They just want the status quo to serve them. And when you're out there every day with a new anti-gay or anti-trans thing or abortion restriction or Nazi ad, even they're like, hey, dog, I don't know about all this. And they're kind of right. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.